In our headlines on this Wednesday, July 2nd, here in South Korea. President Lee Jae-myung is poised to hold his first press conference on Thursday morning as he marks his first 1 month at the top office. And Korea's consumer prices in June rise at their fastest rate since January, accelerating 2.2% on year amid higher oil prices. Meanwhile, the U.S. says Israel has accepted the conditions for a 60-day ceasefire with Hamas and calls on the latter to do the same. Despite a presidential urge for unity, the South Korean parliament remains polarized even as it nears the end of its extraordinary session. Our political correspondent Shinawatra starts us off.
National unity is a key pledge that President Lee Jae-myung has emphasized since his candidacy. After becoming president, he extended that message to the rival parties in the National Assembly. During his inauguration, President Lee caught attention by wearing a red, white, and blue tie, symbolizing his message of unity across political affiliations. He also had lunch with Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik and leaders from both the ruling and opposition parties, demonstrating his commitment to national unity from the very first day of his term.
양보할 건 양보하고 타협해서 가급적이면 모두가 함께 동의하는 그런 정책들로 우리 국민들이 더 나은 삶을 꾸리게 되기를 진심으로 소망합니다. 적대 전쟁과 같은 그런 정치가 아니고 서로 대화하고 인정하고 실질적으로 경쟁을 하는 그런 정치가 되기를 바랍니다.
However, the rival parties remain poles apart as the June extraordinary session nears its end. Back in power after 3 years, the ruling Democratic Party, which holds a majority in the 22nd National Assembly, has accelerated its efforts to pass contentious bills previously vetoed by the former administration. The DP unilaterally passed 3 special investigation bills, including one into former President Yoon Suk-yeol's declaration of martial law and related insurrection charges. The rival parties also clashed over 4-term lawmaker Kim Min-seok's qualifications to serve as prime minister. The main opposition People Power Party has refused to adopt the confirmation hearing report, citing Kim's failure to submit key documents mainly about his wealth and family, while the DP plans to push for an assembly vote to approve him by July 4th. There is also a bipartisan standoff over the new administration's supplementary budget. The DP is aiming to pass it by Thursday, while the PPP is raising concerns about fiscal soundness and fairness. Despite the ongoing tensions, the National Assembly Public Administration and Security Committee approved a 13.2 trillion Korean won, or about $9.7 billion supplementary budget on Tuesday to fund consumption vouchers, with both parties agreeing to the plan. Having consistently emphasized national unity, all eyes are on how President Lee and the Assembly will navigate the ongoing standoff between the rival parties and work toward bipartisan cooperation. Shinawatra, Arirang News.
Now, later this week, that would be tomorrow, we mark President Lee Jae-myung's first full month at the top office. That being said, our foreign affairs correspondent Oh Soo-young takes a look at the framework of his foreign policy thus far as he pledges pragmatic diplomacy.
Lee Jae-myung's pragmatic diplomacy blends continuity and change, based on the deliberate calculation of national interest. His diplomatic debut came at the G7 summit in June, where he held 10 bilateral meetings with world leaders. After a 6-month leadership vacuum caused by former President Yoon Suk-yeol's martial law crisis, Lee's presence aimed to renew South Korea's standing as a vibrant democratic partner. Lee Jae-myung has also reaffirmed the Seoul-Washington alliance and future-oriented relations with Tokyo. His first phone calls were with Donald Trump and Shigeru Ishiba, followed by China's Xi Jinping, breaking the tradition of progressive leaders prioritizing Beijing over Tokyo. Lee's foreign policy also shows signs of recalibration. While maintaining key partnerships with democratic countries, the administration is diversifying cooperation and avoiding value-based alignment, seeking to engage with China and Russia where possible. On North Korea, Lee's approach has been focused on reducing tensions. In this first month, he suspended loudspeaker broadcasts and cracked down on cross-border leaflet campaigns, signalling a break from the tit-for-tat escalation seen in recent years. His cabinet nominations reflect this push for peace over alliance-based deterrence. Foreign Minister nominee Cho Yeon last week called for moving beyond the, quote, stereotype that diplomacy begins and ends with the United States, while stressing US-North Korea dialogue and building peace on the peninsula as core priorities. Unification Minister nominee Chung Dong-yeon could return to a role he held under the Roh Moo-hyung government. He helped organize the 2007 Inter-Korean Summit. Defense Minister nominee Ang Kyu-baek, set to become the first civilian to hold the post in more than 60 years, has stressed the need to build peace along the border. North Korea, along with trade and security, will likely top the agenda when Lee meets Donald Trump later this month. Their meeting will mark the first test of Lee's ability to navigate the alliance while asserting South Korea's national interest. The US will likely push for Seoul to cover more costs related to defense, and possibly the deployment of US strategic assets in South Korea. Lee and Trump were originally expected to meet during the G7, but the meeting fell through as Trump left early amid conflict between Israel and Iran. Officials from both sides say a summit is being arranged in Washington, likely the week of July 21st. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, on the economic frontier, inflation in the country picked up pace in June, rising at its fastest rate since the start of this year. Our correspondent Kim Do-yeon covers this rise in rate and the reasons behind it.
Consumer prices in South Korea climbed back to the 2% range in June, marking the fastest pace in 5 months. According to the data released by Statistics Korea, consumer prices in June increased by 2.2% year-on-year. The jump comes after last month the on-year percentage dropped below 2 at 1.9.
Although the increase in livestock prices has slowed, the decline in agricultural products has narrowed. Petroleum products have turned upward, and prices for processed foods and other items, excluding dining out, have risen further, resulting in a 2.2% year-on-year increase.
Processed food prices, in fact, jumped 4.6% for the sharpest increase since late 2023. And this means bread, coffee, and ham led the gains, but one of the most popular processed foods for Korea, ramyeon, also jumped. Once a cheap source for a quick meal, ramen prices aren't what they used to be. On year, the prices have jumped 6.9%. That's the highest in 21 months. The government explains that this is due to ingredient prices going up.
I think it's really expensive. I don't buy in bulk anymore, and I eat less of it.
Seafood prices also saw a notable climb, up 7.4%, with officials pointing to global warming and unstable marine conditions. Consumers feel the difference and need to take advantage of good opportunities.
We're a family of 3, and we used to eat a lot of fish. It's too expensive for us now, but I'm here because I heard there's a sale.
Meanwhile, oil prices edged up 0.3% due to the geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. The finance ministry said that given uncertainties such as weather conditions and volatility in global oil prices, it'll make all-out efforts together with related ministries to stabilize consumer prices. In particular, to keep food prices in check, it plans to continue measures such as discounts on agricultural, livestock, and fisheries products, as well as applying quota tariffs on key food ingredients. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
The Bank of Korea believes the government-proposed supplementary budget will boost South Korea's economic growth by 0.2 percentage point this year. Speaking at the European Central Bank Forum in Portugal on Tuesday, Governor Lee Chang-ryong also revealed that the BOK remains in a rate-cutting cycle after lowering rates by 1 percentage point since last October. He nonetheless stressed that the timing and size of future rate cuts will take into account financial stability risks, including rising household debt. The Lee Jae-myung administration held its first senior-level talks with its Chinese counterpart earlier on Tuesday here in Seoul. According to the Foreign Ministry here, Director General for Northeast and Central Asian Affairs Kang Young-shin sat down with China's head of Asian Affairs Ryu Jin-sung. On their agenda was an agreement to boost communication and cooperation as South Korea looks to host this year's APEC summit in the autumn. The two officials also addressed prospects of practical partnerships to benefit their respective citizens while sharing concerns over tensions on the peninsula and in the West Sea. While not officially acknowledged, these latest talks are believed to have touched upon the alignment between North Korea and Russia and Chinese-built structures in the West Sea. U.S. President Donald Trump claims Israel has accepted the conditions for a 60-day ceasefire with Hamas. He's now calling on the Palestinian militant group to do the same. Our Park Gonu has the latest.
A temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas may be about to take effect. This comes after U.S. President Donald Trump posted on social media Tuesday that Israel has agreed to the necessary conditions to establish a 60-day ceasefire. He also said efforts from all parties will be made to end the war during that period. Related hours-long talks between Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff and Israeli Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer took place at the White House earlier the same day. Trump also urged Hamas to accept the proposal that's set to be delivered by mediating countries Qatar and Egypt. He warned that the conditions will only get worse if Hamas does not accept the offer. No clear response from Hamas has yet been made. Pundits say Hamas's long-standing desire for a permanent ceasefire and staying in power could act as a potential variable. Alongside these remarks, Israel has continued to ramp up its military pressure. Israeli officials warned of more intense attacks to come if the deal does not proceed soon, ordering civilians in Gaza City to move to the south. Israeli forces have reportedly killed scores of people in Gaza on Tuesday alone. Amid persistent tensions in the region, Trump is set to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu next week for further discussions. Trump said he plans to take a very firm stance during the meeting, raising questions on whether the proposed ceasefire will actually proceed as he claims. Park Gonu, Arirang News.
And the U.S. leader has reaffirmed his resolve against an extension in the pause on country-specific tariffs following his self-imposed deadline next week. Our Moon Hye-ryan has more.
With a suspension period on tariffs set to expire soon, U.S. President Donald Trump signaled that he has no plans to extend the deadline and that new trade penalties for some countries may soon take effect. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One on Tuesday, he singled out Japan after taking to social media the day before to criticize Tokyo for refusing to import American rice despite facing a domestic shortage.
And so what I'm going to do is I'll write him a letter, say we thank you very much. And we know you can't do the kind of things that we need, and therefore you'll pay a 30%, 35%, or whatever the number is that we determine, because we also have a very big trade deficit with Japan.
On the other hand, he said a deal to reduce the 26% tariff rate for India to much less is on the table, after Indian officials extended a visit to the White House last week. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told Fox News prior to the statement that the two countries are close to making a deal that lowers levies for both parties. India is one of 57 named countries targeted by country-specific mutual tariffs announced back in April, before they were pushed back for a 90-day negotiation period. During that period, Washington has pushed for talks focused on tariff rates, trade imbalances, and non-tariff barriers. Only the UK has been able to negotiate a limited trade deal with the Trump administration so far, accepting a 10% US tariff on certain items in exchange for special access to aircraft engines and British beef. Going forward, the Trump administration is reportedly planning meetings with its trade team to set tariff rates for individual countries as the July 9th deadline approaches. The U.S. director of the National Economic Council revealed on Monday that the U.S. president will review tariff plans for each country, while Bessent warned that tariffs could remain high for countries that do not cooperate. Moon Hye-ryan, Arirang News.
In other news, the heat wave over in Europe is intensifying, with temperatures across countries there breaking records. Our Lee Sing-jae reports.
It's only early July, but Europe is suffering from a record-breaking heat wave. A strong high-pressure system is trapping hot air from northern Africa, while higher temperatures on the Mediterranean Sea are reinforcing temperatures over land areas. Countries seeing the worst of the heat wave include France, Italy, and Spain, with temperatures surpassing 40 degrees Celsius. Central France reported temperatures as high as 41 degrees, while Spain's southwest region saw mercury readings reach 46 degrees on Saturday. The Portuguese city of Mora rose to 46.6 degrees on Sunday, marking the highest June temperature on record. Amid the heat wave in Europe, the World Health Organization issued a stern warning on Monday, calling for urgent action to prevent tens of thousands of unnecessary and preventable deaths. According to Marisol Garcias-Gonzalez, the technical advisor on climate change and health at the WHO, it's no longer a question of whether there will be a heat wave, but rather how many there will be this year and how long they'll last. Statistician Pierre Massolet from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine also warned that between June 30th and July 3rd, the heat wave could cause more than 4,500 excess deaths. He warned that countries likely to record the highest rates of excess deaths are Italy, Croatia, Slovenia, and Luxembourg, adding that the worst days will likely be Tuesday and Wednesday. And according to the World Meteorological Organization, intense heat waves may become the norm for Europe.
The frequency and intensity of extreme heat events is increasing in Europe, and by 2050, about half the European population may be exposed to high or very high risk of heat stress during summer.
The heat wave is also raising concerns that the Eiffel Tower may experience deformation of around 20 centimeters. According to French daily Le Parisien on Monday, the steel structure bends slightly from various angles throughout the day due to the movement of the sun. It added that while the intense heat wave may lead to a wider angle of deformation, the tower returns to shape when temperatures cool during nighttime. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
On the K-pop front, BTS is set to return with a new album and a world tour next spring. Intentions to this end were shared by BTS members during a live broadcast on the K-pop fan platform Weverse on Tuesday. All 7 members of the group have completed their mandatory military service here in the country, with Suga being the final member to be discharged late last month. And downtown Seoul has been transformed into a K-drama set until this Sunday, much to the delight of Squid Game fans amid the release of Season 3 last Friday. Our Park Hyo-bin files this report.
Tourists are stepping into Squid Game. They're not just watching the show. They're playing the games, walking the sets, and reliving scenes in the very heart of Seoul.
Festival was excellent, and I take part in this game and I win it. So I got some prize. I really enjoy it.
You know, one day she just found the tickets and we just said, hey, let's go. And we couldn't pass it up because it's such an iconic film from Netflix. And
Here at the Gwanghwamun Square, tourists are diving into the world of Squid Games as they're playing games that were featured in the series.
This interactive experience is part of the 2025 K-Content Seoul Travel Week, a collaborative event hosted by the city of Seoul and global streaming giant Netflix. Alongside the game zone, visitors can stop by the Seoul Spot travel booth, which features exhibitions from 10 Netflix K-dramas and travel guides to nearby filming locations and restaurants. Also drawing crowds is the Seoul Spot Dosen Tour, a guided walk through real-life filming spots led by actors themselves. They visited several filming locations from Squid Game, including Tapgul Park and Jonggak Station.
We had participants from so many countries, and some even understood the drama better than I did. But what impressed me most was their heartfelt love and passion for Korean culture.
The event, which runs till July 6th, kicked off with a bang last Saturday, featuring a massive Squid Game Season 3 finale celebration. Performers in the show's signature costumes marched from Gwanghwamun to Seoul Plaza, transforming the streets into a surreal K-drama parade. Fiction and reality blend together in the streets of Seoul, inviting fans not just to watch the story, but to step right into it. Park Hyo-bin, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. Thailand's Constitutional Court has suspended Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra from office following a petition from 36 senators amid controversy over a leaked phone call. On Tuesday, Thailand's Constitutional Court voted 7-2 to suspend Paetongtarn, pending a 15-day investigation into allegations of dishonesty and ethical misconduct related to a leaked June 15th call with Cambodian politician Hun Sen. In the conversation, Paetongtarn referred to Hun Sen as uncle and criticized a Thai military commander as an opponent. The Bumjai Thai Party, Paetongtarn's key coalition partner, withdrew support after the leak, prompting renewed public protests demanding her resignation. The deputy prime minister has been appointed as the acting prime minister. While Paetongtarn transfers to the Culture Ministry from July 3rd, she's barred from exercising executive power during the proceedings. The National Anti-Corruption Commission is conducting a parallel investigation that could escalate to a Supreme Court case, potentially leading to a political ban if she's found guilty. In India, the death toll from an explosion at a pharmaceutical factory has risen to at least 36. The blast on Monday at Sigachi Industries factory in Telangana state occurred at the spray dryer unit of the plant, causing the structure to collapse, while over 140 workers were inside. Rescue teams have retrieved 34 bodies from the rubble, and 2 others died later in hospital. More than 30 people suffered injuries and are being treated for burns. Officials said additional casualties cannot be ruled out until debris from the collapsed building is fully cleared. The U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, officially ceased independent operations on Tuesday, July 1st, after 64 years. Over 80% of its programs folded into the State Department under an America First reorganization plan. Meanwhile, a new study projects that these funding cuts could result in more than 14 million avoidable deaths globally by 2030, including children under 5. Between 2001 and 2021, USAID funded efforts prevented about 91 million deaths from diseases like HIV and malaria. While former Presidents Obama and Bush denounced the closure, Secretary of State Rubio said inefficiency has officially come to an end. Dubai hosted the first piloted test flight of Joby Aviation's fully electric air taxi on Monday, ahead of its official commercial launch in 2026. It's the first in-market series of flight tests following initial trials in California earlier this year and included vertical takeoff and precise landing sequences. The California-based company says its flagship aerial taxi can carry 1 pilot and 4 passengers, reach speeds up to 320 kilometers per hour, and fly approximately 160 kilometers per charge. This could reduce the trip from Dubai International Airport to Palm Jumeirah to 12 minutes, down from a 45-minute drive by car. Choi Ji-hee, Arirang News.
Tropical nights at night and heat waves during the day have been continuing for days now. The lowest temperature in Gangneung this morning was 30.4 degrees Celsius, which was a super tropical night. These tropical nights have been appearing in Seoul for 3 days in a row. Today's daytime temperature in Seoul rose up to 32 degrees, and it felt like 33 degrees, while Jeonju felt as high as 36 degrees today. It's easy to get heat-related diseases in these steaming conditions, so please refrain from outdoor activities when the sun shines strongly. Tomorrow morning will still be warm at around 24 to 26 degrees all over the country. Daily highs will move up to 32 degrees in Seoul and Jeju, 34 degrees in Daejeon. A heat wave without any rain forecast will continue for the time being. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up next is our daily panel session. Thank you for now.